Hello, hello. Hi. I've got a weird thought expose that I thought I would run by you. And I'm going to risk being in my deeply introspective, nonverbal state of mind uh, to see what words come out while I try and say it. What made me start thinking about it is hi, I'm Elliot. And while I love linguistics like crazy, I love the word. I'm not going to be too semantic in my argument uh, or exposition. It's like, is my name Elliot? Elliot, what? What's in the name? Fundamental assumption. Although we could go there and we just might, but in a different roundabout way, like an Elliot way, like a you way, but not like the normal way. What got me thinking, I was pondering in an instant the Fermi paradox, which is so silly to call it a scientific theory, but that's what scientists would call it. Um, that there's like the reason there's no extraterrestrial contact on Earth, or rather, the paradox is if there was extraterrestrials, we would know that. And since they're not, does that mean then that maybe we're the only ones? And I'm like really simplifying it, but that's what all good lovers could do. I think just simplify the shit out of everything. Just try. Even if it makes it complex, just make it simple. That's love, baby. Uh, so let me say it again. The Fermi paradox is just like, where are all the aliens? Basically, this guy was like, Fermi was like, they're aliens. Wouldn't we have like met them by now? So then you went through a bunch of like scenarios where that would explain why and why not. And it's interesting to go into if you want to, but that's not what this is about. What I would love to talk about is I'm deciding if I want to close that door. Yes, I will, because I thought about it and it interrupted me. Pardon me a second, I'll be right back. I did it! Hooray! Oh yeah, we did it! I'm just sensitive to sound. Because I'm Elliot. No, that was funny. It was like friend funny. All right. The assumption that led me to fundamentals I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, basically to the conclusion, because I'm no good at re-noodling. I'm like, I already figured that part out in my mind, so let's just go there. I just talked to someone, a very good friend of mine, one of my only good friends, and she called me for my birthday last week, and I don't have a phone, like a cell phone. I've gone through periods of my life without cell phones. I make those periods happen because, goddamn, it's too much fake contact. But, I live in an apartment with a landline, and she called and she got through to voicemail, and my roommate is my mother. Anyways, I only got the message like today. It was the 18th, 9 days later. If extraterrestrial contact was made to a gatekeeper, like a governmental gatekeeper, authoritative gatekeeper, then like like the USS voicemail or something. Look, we blow by the assumption that it hasn't even been 9 days and we just missed the call and we just haven't got the message. Furthermore, that the gatekeepers are relaying messages that are there. Now, a fundamental assumption that we have, I would say, in the West, is that the governmental bodies that we belong to have our best interests in mind, and we know everything that we need to know. Like, adjacent to that would be that nothing could possibly happen too real, too novel, that would escape like the notice of everybody. That it's impossible for something to happen in the world these days and then not the whole wide world kind of find out the next day. But those are wrong, right? Those are day by day proven to be wrong. We know that like the authoritative like institutes on our planet do not have the individual's best in mind or the group's best in mind or the planet's best in mind. Like, that's proven. And then, so now let's go to the next assumption. Oh, it's just, what if they do and we just don't know and like they're all covering up? That's lying. And a fundamental assumption is that any deception that is like unasked for is for any kind of common good. Let's use an example of like, what do you mean asked for? Who asks for deception? Well, in like the clever time jumping, elemental streaming craziness that is consciousness, I can imagine a scenario / game / life where like you gotta like be the deceiver of the deceiver by being deceived, but also you're deceiving by being deceived because you're not really deceived, but you don't know that, but you will. So because you will, you were never really deceived because that was always part of the plan. What? What did you just say? Exactly. Asked for. It's like there was an unasked for deception, and so in turn, like a deception was called upon, right? In response. Let's get a little less complex because I want to keep it as like outside my brain, simple as possible for your sake. because I hardly need to approach examples. We've talked at length, you and I, on this channel in all the ways. Uh, about the obviousness of um, like a deceptive based economy, deception based economy. I like deceptive based economy, even though it doesn't sound like proper English. I feel like the grammar is more specific. Uh, is that you going simpler, Elliot? Try. Come on. Give me a break. It's really the oxymoron of fundamental and assumptions that got my noodle bacon. Assumption is one of my favorite words. I have this memory of being in like grade 2 or 3, I think grade 2, possibly grade 3, which would place me at like 7 or 8. And I went to Catholic school, and the priest comes in, the priest at the church, uh, but he's in our classroom, and somebody says, I think it might have even been me, who knows, but somebody says assumption. He's like, do you know what an assumption is? And he said this story more, like maybe twice, but it always stuck out because I was young, and he's a priest. Father Paul, what a gangster. Uh, and he goes and he writes assumption on the blackboard, which was green. And he rubs out the P and the T maybe. It's like, or maybe he keeps it plus sign there. He's like, when you assume, you make an ass of you and me. I hear that every single time I hear assumption. I assume anything. I hear Father Paul being like, you're making an ass of you and me. He used to call me an idiot. It's like, you little idiot. I think he actually used those words. He used like some word that made me kind of feel like, but also kind of endeared. So Catholic. It's like, oh, you're noticing me. It's like, oh, but you're not calling me a nice thing. And there's no fundamental anything that can be an assumption. Fundamental is something that is like base known. It's the opposite of an assumption. It's like not assuming anything. Like a fundamental perception is my subjective experience that I could best describe with words, but would never do it justice. There's not much that's fundamental that can be honestly expressed outside of like a contextual like specificity. But we make these crazy assumptions about the world, and I'm saying this as a person that's lived by these assumptions my whole life and questioned them and like fiercely, and yet we're still kind of, I want to say, like undone by like the subtlest webbing of frameworks that describe what our world should be and what we can reasonably expect and unexpect. Like a fundamental assumption is like you can't know what happens after you die. You can't know God. God's everywhere, but also nowhere. So you can't know that God exists. You can't know that. And also you can't know what happens when you die. But why not? Those are making fundamental assumptions about what God even is, which is like, we don't presume to know what God is. But let me tell you what God is. And let me tell you what God's not. Why you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. We're allowed to do this to you because you're not allowed. God said so. But God doesn't talk. He just works in mysterious ways, which we wrote down when he told us mysteriously. Fundamental assumptions. Don't question. And rather than, like, let's just together think about the reasonability of knowing God and knowing death and like life beyond and before it. Like, you are as you were, and you persistently be whatever you are. Doesn't it stand to reason that there would be some continuity that exists with you in it? That is at once like beyond you, but also like especially you, by virtue only of your persistence of being. It, you can remember, you can project, you can imagine, and like, we're gonna even leave aside like the amazing potentialities and like realities that is the imagination. Let's just speak really mundanely, like us. Mundane for us. Wouldn't it stand to reason that there would be some like tangible, living, experiential link to your nowness and that continuity, whatever it is? Because before we were born, were we dead? And after we die, are we born? Well, the fundamental assumption is born, life, death. But in truth, those are really like blanket concepts that don't accurately describe our living experience. And as like a societal body, collective consciousness, we our fiction, our fundamental assumption that keeps getting iterated, reiterated, iterated, reiterated, is that any proof to the contrary of that like really simplistic, I want to almost say like bland context, is like hushed and shooed away. Now, because this isn't like a conversation about the legitimacy of like mind washing and covering up truth and lying and all that. It's just like, I want us to instead participate in imagining how we do it, even in our open minds, even in our open hearts, with our extra skills and our love. And yet we still will find ourselves caught in the webbing of these like fictitious fictitious states of being, but as real. It's like, but we don't know it's real, so we make an assumption about it. It's like, but we don't have to actually assume anything about anything for any longer than you're willing to be an ass about it. Here's how Paul framed uh, my my view of that word in my world. So I was like, well, I'm gonna assume, but when I'm gonna assume, I'm gonna be careful because I don't want to make an ass ability with that. It's fine. I can make an ass, and if you want to join me in the assumption, make an ass of you. But another kind of impetus to these thoughts forming is like the culmination of our work. I say our because everything is ours. And for me, what that means is like I've come to know a great deal of truth and like reasonable plausibility about reality. And I'm not special any more than anyone else is special, which is to say, I'm that special, as special as you or anybody. And then the preface to the post is could be. Because the only way to be not special is to not listen to self. And then you kind of drag along with the not self kind of meatbag crowd. And then you're not special, you're kind of blended, not harmoniously, but turbulently. It's turbulent because not listening to self is like opposite of our desires. I wouldn't say it's easy, but I wouldn't say that by design it's supposed to be. All good things in life are a challenge, which is why we love a good challenge. But a fundamental assumption is that we need to make things challenging. We need to find challenging things. It's like, no, do all the easy things. Everything should be as easy and simple and like generous as possible because you know what? Like your striving heart and like our will to love and be done will cultivate challenges. You don't need to look for them. You don't need to create them. You know, we don't need to like pride ourselves on, oh, I love me a good challenge. It's like, yeah, duh, you're alive? Being alive is a challenge. What else is there? Well, why is that? Why isn't the opposite assumption, which is like, there's probably something else, more reasonable than there's nothing else? But if they were, we would know. We could see it. It's like, but like you know now stuff that you didn't know before, right? Isn't it stand to reason that awareness changes? I don't know. Like a fundamental assumption is like what we can't see with our senses or what we can't measure. But measuring is a fundamental assumption. Like we fundamentally assume that measuring is a thing. It's like we'll measure time. What is you sun up, sun down, moon, stars. Measure time, heartbeat. Centimeters, millimeters. Now I'll tell you that we create units of measurement. It's called life. And it's by virtue of what we choose to measure that thus like is already decided, chooses to grow. But proving by science, there's no such thing as science. Like, what is not proving by science? It's like you've proven that, but not by science. Right? Oh, you proved it by, well, you just, what is proving anything? What does that even mean? Outside of science. And then if it's meaningless outside of science, then that fundamental assumption destroys the truth of who we are. It's how we can get away with um, like all the abuse in the world. It's like, I feel this way. Oh, you don't really feel this way. You're crazy. It's like, what does that even mean? If I'm saying I feel this way, like in a larger context, I could be erroneous in like my attachment of how I feel based on wrong information, uh, or that's basically just it. But like, what is, how do we invalidate what people think and feel as not proven if they're proving it by expressing it? Be it a thought, a hallucination, an idea, a vision, information, experience, like extrasensory perception, ESP, in like science lingo. What's extrasensory perception? There's no such thing. There's no extrasensory perception any more than there's sensory perception. There's perception. All of it. Always. How do you delineate what's happening in your mind and not outside your mind? When you hear voices that are like mine, or your room, or your eyes, they see things so they don't see things. And it's like, just in case all of this will get a little too crazy, it's like, oh, you're just imagining too much. You ever dream? You ever dream before? You ever have a dream where like you're fucking sleeping, but in your dream, it's like you're not? That's crazy how we all can have like a shared experience of like being really embodied. I'll be a little kooky, and yet we wake up in our beds having our bodies not really been doing that, but then we had those experiences. So extrasensory perception. So like not popular knowledge, but super easy to like accredit is it's not like, is psychic a real thing? It's like, no, that's actually proven. It's proven by the rigors of even science itself and all its attempts to dissuade and like depopularize the factuality of that reality, but by all of their sigmas and their deltas, their by that I mean they're like chance. What's the word? I can't remember it exactly, but it's their, it's the plus or minus chance of the probability of whatever, of likelihood, whatever. It's all just like, it's like, no, the chances of this being like an anomalous statistic is no. It's like, can people communicate from one side of a room to another side of the room? Yes. Can people communicate from one side of a building to another building? Yes. Can people remote view? Yes. Can people move things with their mind? Yes. Can people have this is like pyrokinesis a thing? Yes. Like yes, we've actually proven all of these things, even in the ways that we try and deny them by measuring them. We've even managed to measure these things. And you know what never needed measurement? The doing of them, the very experience of them. Measurement of anything as a like a pretext for its existence is a fundamental assumption. Like, what is love? Baby, don't worry me. I love you so much. How much? So much. Do you love them a lot? A little. I love them a lot. I love them a little. You can't measure love. You can express it as like, I love you a lot. It's like when I was like turn a phrase like ways way like just like expressing of ridiculousness, like giving quantity to a quality. But that you can love something and not another thing is a fundamental assumption. And it's just not true. Love is truly an exhibition of one's intrinsic being towards everything and nothing. I can't speak, or it's like fruitless, of like another realm of universe where like love isn't the bomb digs, but here, love it's simply it's more it's like it's simply like a saturation of commitment and awareness, you know, in like conflict with the unknown. Because I wanted I could say fear and love and fear. Basically, that like that dichotomy is super useful, like choice point in speaking with people in general. But you and I, we can be more specific. Because why the unknown? Why I like that is because eventually or inevitably you love the unknown. There's nothing outside of love. You hate inside of love. You do atrocious things inside of love. You can do unloving things in love. What's the result? Horror, terror, self-destruction. But that would sounds like it would make sense, right? And not to like others. It's always to self, despite our fundamental assumptions. I'm having fun toying with like the different ones that we have, but if I was going to try and make a point, that's my favorite laugh. When my nephew was like a toddler, like pre even like his first year accomplished, my name was because maybe it's because my way I laugh, but whenever like I walked into a room or you saw me for the first time, you look at me and go. I was like, that's my favorite name ever. Although I do love Uncle Al. Um, love is love. Love is so good. The point making is there's so many, not countless, but it feels like there's so many avenues that I personally have explored to exhaustion that have a weighted like veracity to our like the context of our humanity, cosmically, spiritually, galactically, earthly, continentally, governmentally, historically, anti-historically. And nobody ever told me anything. Nobody has ever told me anything in my whole fucking life. Ever. Really. I've learned a great deal from just about everyone and everything. But great teachers, be it them friends or uh, more recently other YouTubers, but all the books that I've read and that like, it's not like a one-to-one. I'm teaching you this. I'm giving you this information. I'm going to you for this information. You're giving me this information. There's no there's no channel like that in our world, which is really weird because I guess that's what parents um, have been like destroyed for, family and community, to break up that line of communication. But I mention it because I was born and the internet came out when I was a teenager, and yeah, but like maybe I invented the internet to come out in the teenager by virtue of what I am as a conscious being. It's like, what is coincidence? What is synchronicity except for um, like a broader respect for time? And the point that I really want to make, if I could like sow this far and wide, is that there are no legitimate fundamental assumptions, and that any assumptions at fundamentality are like self-exposed as hubris of the worst kind. Like it's like, hi, I'm lying to you. Fundamental assumption. For example, everything that's going on in the world right now. Pick anything, and being a truth seeker, I don't really jive with like any kind of social group that like, we're seekers or anything like that. I'm just using those words because I mean them. But and then using it to describe other people like myself, or at least with that drive. There's this paradigm of disclosure, like we're going to be told, like nothing's real until you're told it. You know this. Give me the information. You're withholding the information. It's like they don't need to withhold the information. You're not even using all the information available to you. They can just give you information, tell you to assume it away, and then like just we'll tie ourselves up asking for what's already been given. Our whole like scientific paradigm is a fundamental assumption. What do I mean? We assume like the well intent and like straightforward truthfulness of everything we claim to know as science, be it chemistry, biology, physics, under the pretense of you can't fake that because it's proven. But like, hi, my name is Science. Here are my scientific tools. With these, you can measure scientific things. Here, let me show you. This is a wave, and you can measure it with a foot. Yeah, here. We've got some other things like ones and twos and plus signs, minus, all good. And I'm being a little silly, and I could probably be more exact. So let me try. We assume that the history that is commonly accepted and studied and sold the world over is the mostly true. We assume that we know a great deal about what exactly happened for the last 2,000 years. We have a very, very good idea about what happened for the last like 3 to 4,000 years, and civilization really only started about 5,000-6,000 years ago. At the same time, we know very, very much that humans, as we are now, Homo sapiens, have existed on this planet for anywhere between 150,000 on like the low end to 100 million years on the high end. But I know it seems like a broad range, but if you look at, if you made the year like January to December into the entire history of the planet Earth, this is where humans are on December 31st at 11:50. Fuck you. Because the fundamental assumption is your calendar. And it's not that we can know these things. It's not that we should. It's partly that we could. But it's importantly that we don't include, like, dare I say, absolutely, the awareness that any supposition is just that, an ongoing continuity of investigative awareness. That it's not built into our like societal structure, that nothing that we know is but in a state of knowing. Because if all the lights went out and we had to make it out on our own, these would be like self-evident in how people get along. Without the television shows and the movies and the news and describing how what's normal should be. Like they're making a movie. I saw this like a commercial. They're making a movie about like a mayor a person running for mayor or something like that, and it's called Irresistible. It's so funny. It's like you're making a movie about like a mayor, but what's not obvious is that that is a fiction. Our constitutions, our uh, parliaments, all these governmental agencies are fictions. We made them up. They didn't grow on trees. They're not modeled after seas. They're not modeled after anything. They could be, but they're not. Not anything that's good. Like, that's goodly. I want to go back to the history thing a little bit because that's so important. It takes so much. I don't have to tell you. It takes so much spiritual maturity and suffering to overcome all the wrong, like distributed far and wide in this world, to arrive at like we were always right and we will always be right for ourselves without knowing our history, right? Like if I think I'm a good person, I'm gonna act like a good person because I've got like a backup to be like, okay, I come from goodness, you know. But if you come from an idea that you're a bad person, well, then no one's a bad person. So like you're a good person at being bad. Really, right? It's mind fuck, but that's the idea. And even if that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be bad, you should think you might. Like it's all fucked. Uh, like imagine like like as concrete as we think we know our history. That concrete, we've got a celestial origins that like incorporate other planets, other suns, other modes of consciousness, uh, and it goes back millions of years. Because note to us, even by our um, like goofy calculations, we measure the redshift of the microwave, blah 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 blah. That's how you just fucking circle jerk, don't you? It's like you don't even need a circle to jerk, yo. That's like not love. Anyways, what did I think? Whatever. Pardon me. This is a bit crude for me. Blasted imagination. That's vividness. Um, I like just got like mind zapped a little bit, but that's okay because I can always pick up wherever I want. Right. Like imagine the humans, not like humans that we as we know it. I mean us humans came to this planet uh, only like 5,000 years ago, and between 10,000 and 25,000 years ago, we existed here, but not in this dimension. It's like we were ghosts, but the ghosts weren't ghosts of anything. They were like us. They were just of a subtler form. Just imagine this, right? Like a whatever. And just as like crazy as we think that like proving that any of that could be, but like think about all the fundamental assumptions we make about the world right now, and like why is that so crazy? That before life existed in this like dense atomic structure, it existed in like a lattice work of less dense structure. Yeah. If we can fucking date the universe to 13.78 billion years, maybe we can make an assumption about that. Okay, let's make an assumption about that. And that we came to this planet as a part of a collective humanity that spans the galaxy on a mission of love. And there are different civilizations of humanity. And there was one like group that was like kind of, I want to say born here, and then there's another group that was like fostered here. And the fostering created some conflict, but it was like a cosmic engagement for love, making the best of the worst situation. And so our pedigree is actually as starfarers. But when we landed here, there was like a civil war. Because in a way, war was taken to a degree that had to be invented. It's like level of abuse, which was really only possible because there was this group of humanity that was like born here, and then there was this other humanity, which was the same humanity but was seen as other. So it created this ugly conflict, which could never have happened before. And as a result, there wasn't a great forgetting. There was a great like enforced amnesia, where great lengths were taken so that history would not just be erased, because that's not a thing, but people's mind would be controlled. And you control people's minds by the information that they have, and the information that shape that the shape of that information. Because if you shape the information, you shape what the information takes. We're also busy. Maybe not us. I mean, we are the busiest people in the fucking galaxy, but not in the way that gets us any kind of notice, which is actually just suits us fine. But I digress for us. I guess it's just hard for me to say. So I guess I'm using this opportunity for me to kind of practice it. But there's no reason at all ever for there to be like a layer of deception for anyone's sake. Ever. Like on purpose. For the other's good. You can totally not, like, I'm a huge fan of not saying what you could say or want to say, even. That's not the same thing. You're not lying. You're not like trying to like dissuade, you know. Deception for me is like, it's like taking your one's own person and bubbling it off from the world that they are deceiving as separate. Like there's like this bubble of not deception, not deceived, and then there's the deception being enforced on other. Versus, I don't have to tell you anything, or I have my reasons for not telling you. And in like love, that exchange is harmonious because there's no bubble. It's not happening to other, it's happening to us, each other. Which is that the other person is just like, okay, I trust that. And all this can be unsaid because we're not trying to dissuade from anyone's interests outside of our own interests. And you're imprisoned. There's no such thing as borders any more than there are like wings to a prison. You want to make borders? Sure. But then why are the borders manned by people with guns that I'm not allowed to have? And if I choose to cross this border one way or another, through the whole chain of that experience, it has nothing to do with anyone that I know or knows me. Like a fundamental assumption that we have about the fucking world is that it ticks by people doing things for you and you doing things for other people that you don't know. And that is what's killing us. That's why it's like a soul lesson to like not be secretive with powerful information. I know that. But it's just because of many times of harm and suffering and danger. It can be taken too far. Learn to trust again, but the world will never be as gorgeous and beautiful place as it like would be if we left it alone. Never mind, just loved it the way we really wanted to. So long as there are any transactions between any peoples that are governed like outside of relationship. If I do job A for currency and you like and trade that currency for someone that does job B, then job A can be killing little children and job B can be growing my fruits and vegetables. That's fucked up. But that's actually that's everything that money is. It allows people to do anything and then reward themselves out of context for what they've done based on their own measurements. Just to bring it back to like rulers. I was thinking of, I had a good one. I'm going to start to wrap up, but had a good, because I've been like trying to mature resource-based economy to something better. I think I was toying with the word meritocratic. I just like words. It's like based on merit, but not really. Okay, so why I want to say that is that why I don't like resource-based economy is that it still subjugates resources as a thing outside of self. And then we're still trading things for things, which is never the case. It's never the case. It's never like going to be the natural outcropping of our highest potentiality if we're trading this for that. It's not actually part of our real history. Bartering was never a thing. Currency is not that old. It's only a few thousand years old, and it's like it's our prison. It's entirely it's multivalent. It's layered. It's cross-dimensional. You can call it spells. You can call it politics. Like it works on every level, but it's a thing. It's like the walls of our prison. I can't remember, but I think it was just like relationship based. Because I guess we'll move towards closing with this. Like we pride ourselves on supposed parenting, and like you wouldn't parent like your friends' kids. Like it's like you're not gonna parent them. They're not gonna have them tell you how to parent your kids. And then we'll take it like broader. Like you wouldn't have people raising just like strangers raising your kids. And we'll take it like broader, and it's like oh, thank you for your patience. Thank you for my patience. Because I get to be patient with your patience and myself. But before I continue, I want to say thank you. Because this is all I really wanted. And what I'm summoning, it's just like quietness. I'm like talking, but not really talking. I've been craving that kind of company. So thank you for accompanying me. I was born. And since then, I've been, in all that time, my own reflections chosen have never been for or accounted as like any other possibility for nationhood taxation for uh, rents of the commons. I never had a choice about education. Never mind whose right is it to this or that, just like all of it. The right to know anything and to not know. I didn't choose any of that. Now, if something's happening halfway across the world and I can help, then I'll help. But if something's happening halfway across the world that needs my help, and I don't need that help middle managed by people I don't know and that don't know me, by like taking my like labor in any form and converting it for their own purposes to supposedly help a situation that I actually can't actualize as being truthful enough, because it's all connected by a web of unknowing. Right? It's in the news, it's on camera, it's on this, it's on that, but none of that's real. And the fundamental assumption that we make in this world is that it's so ingrained as like the only way of being, that concepts of it working differently are so foreign that they escape even fiction. Like, just spitballing, I'm envisioning decentralized self-governance where communities of people choosing to live in community with one another, which everyone finds their home. There's nowhere in the world that no one belongs if they're allowed to walk there, or, given a ride. It's true. There's space, and so there's room, and so there's home, because we all have someone that loves us. If we didn't have all this other stuff to like fake in the way of it, I think it's like an obvious transgression against our humanity that it, like, we're a society of sheep. We're like, if you know self-defense, then you took self-defense classes, or you studied karate or kung fu. Being able to defend yourself is fundamentally human. It's not a thing that some people are good at and some other people are good at. Sure, just like anything, there's like variation in spectrums of skill sets, but we should all be the most comfortable in fighting pretty viciously, physically, with one another. That kind of Strength and discipline is inbred in us. And in a world like that, you know what disappears? War, real conflict, because you don't settle things with violence. You have fun a little bit with violence, or like violence in its own right becomes like a ceremony. Because there's never any conflict with anyone you don't know. Because conflict with someone that you don't know isn't being legitimized by by a fundamental assumption of trust. When I was younger, I mean, I've never thought I would ever join the army, but it's never been lost on me. I would be a badass fucking soldier, and now having known my own multivalent sense of being, like, yeah, man, duh, he's a gangster. He's a death, destroy your worlds. Whoops. But seriously, get it? But I could never. The thought of like I've never doubted that I could kill someone if I had to, but I could never kill someone. Like I could never do it. It would happen. It would only. I could totally do it incidentally, as like an effective result of an unreasonable, but like affectatious cause. I just said most of those words because they sounded good on my tongue, but they were good. Shooting someone, like killing someone that you never met, killing someone that you never met. Like you woke up today and you went to bed at some point, and like all the days that you done that, like all the like little like the stubs your toes, the little cries, the little happiness, all the little joys, all of it, all those days, you would end someone else's that you never met. Not knowing a person that you're killing precludes any good reason to kill them. Yeah, but there's a good reason. Like, no, there's no good reason to kill someone you don't know. Ever. It's not a thing. But they're killing lots of people. Like, are they? Do you know that? Do you know those people? Do you know them? Go find out. Right? And then, like, I don't know, go from there. But you can't kill people you don't know. How could there be a good reason to ever do that? Well, you can't know everyone. No, you can. You can't. You can know these things. The same way that like it's quite clear all the reasons for all the wars that we've always recorded are obviously bullshit. Like obviously bullshit. It's like we won World War II and then the world went to shit after that. It's like, yeah, the winners won. The good guys won World War II. And then everything after that was fucking death and enslavement. It's like pre-1910, 1904, we had like it was already on the lockdown, but even like anybody could do anything really a little bit. And then all those wars, and then Made a global police state. Everybody got them guns. Yeehaw. And I don't really even have an issue with guns like I used to. Because you know what? Just because you have a gun doesn't mean you can kill someone. And when everyone's smart, everyone's skilled, people don't die. You don't kill people. Unless you're really good at it, and then you're just asking for yourself. Who knows, man? I'm not going to presume like the reasons for living of all the different souls, but it's just I'm fostering this dream of us starting our own nation. And it's not based on any land in particular, but we would have our own land. It'd be a nation of people being. And the most reasonable thing would be to know that you know the people in your country. And that through little like buds and stems of trust, you could reasonably convey truth. Because you might not know where it's coming from at the beginning, but you know where it's coming from now. You've got like your lifetime, like fact checking and relationship building, and you can always find your way to the source. It's never locked off. You never have to pay for it. You never have to qualify any more than you. There's no qualification needed for anything beyond one's curiosity and willingness to love and do it. Because it's a fundamental assumption that a nation is a land, just like that a home is a house, and home is your loved ones. Like when you come home, that's what home is. And I don't live at home right now, but I have a home. I want to say with you, but that might be too forward. You know what I mean? And if you don't, that's okay too, because I do. And that's not an assumption. I think that's all I've got, darling man friend, or darling girlfriend. Just darling all the same. I'm glad that I just said fuck it and came on because you're here. So thank you. I guess my little secret I'll share in the end is the world is nothing like the way we've been sold it at its seams. And you don't have to be told it any more than trust the answers that you give to yourself and transition from one gift to another. Because if you want to know love, love is telling you. If you want to know truth, truth is telling you. And if you and I and all of us continue to challenge what we think or what we've been told, rather, or what we've been conditioned to perceive as um, like consequential boundaries, I believe that based on our experience, we'll continue to notice our power, and that we are not powerless, and that we are not subject to the machinations, which is to say, being made into machines, or manipulations, or just bad judgment of lesser people, lesser by their own estimation. If they're measuring us as outside themselves, then they must be lesser because they can never be as big as this. What up, everything else? Right? I don't know. I wish I had some other golden nugget for you, but I can't find the words. I think that I don't want to. Because sometimes, all the time, I wish I could just be myself without having to. I never want there to be a point. I want to make things for their own sake. And I love loving everyone that I come in contact with. I wish that I could do that, and after we part ways, just not feel obligated or like weird for being made to feel special. Whether it's strangers I'll never see the same way again, or a lover that is walking from one room to the next. Because that's about as far as I want to get away from her. Probably. I feel like listening to you. So thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing with me. I didn't think I'd make myself laugh at all. But it was really good for me to get out of my head and into my mouth. I don't know. I don't know. It's just too much time alone. It's the worst. It's really the worst thing that we could be doing is isolating our minds. Not forever or like has always been that way, because like we've all needed that a little bit. But if we want to create a new world, it's not that we need each other. It's that when we start to create a new world, like it's fucking scary. It's like, whoa, never mind like the pressure of doing right or not, because that's another fucking fundamental assumption. It's like, oh no, I'm one with all that is, and if I just fucking take it easy, I can't fuck it up because I'm like a fucking blade of grass. I grow, I do it. I'll do the thing. I'll do the thing. I'll do the Elliot thing. That's what I am. Just don't fuck with me. Like in a mean way. Fuck with me in like a fun way. I don't care. That's cool. That's probably like an Elliot thing too. Right? I don't remember what I was saying, but I think my point was made. Whatever it was. Oh goodness. Just it's scary because you don't know what's real. Because like secret, everything and nothing is real. And when you start like reshaping reality in any kind of what the fuck way, it's I think meant to be scary. The same way like carrying something too heavy. I think like that a little. I sound like that a little. Like, okay, cool. Like I've been thinking that same thing. It helps us draw conclusions of reasonability. And like, I'm not gonna lie, there has been many days on this journey where I've been like, am I a brain in a vat? But for real, am I asleep on like my sofa in like some past fake false future playing like stuck in a game where I'm like I chose this, this sucks? Am I like a gangsta time cop imprisoned by my enemies in like a virtual reality that lasts infinite, but it's really just like no time? It's like in 5 minutes, but I've lived like a million lives. Like, yeah, man, it's like, you've thought these things, I've lived these things. But you know what? All of it becomes okay and kind of like those fucking bubbles of reality pop when connect with other people that we love. They make us smile and laugh and feel good. To be ourselves by them being themselves. And like any kind of very real reassurance, it's like it doesn't matter actually. I don't care about any of that so long as I'm happy and engaged and I'm feeling like it's fair. That's perfect for me. Perfect is a contextual set of conditions. There's no perfect beyond your perfect. And you're perfect to me. And that's okay. You're allowed to be. So I could be this could you could be me. Everything all this could be in my mind. There could be no one else. But if I'm fucking happy and I'm feeling creative, then it doesn't matter where we are. We are still at an edge of a becoming. something that we weren't. And I haven't reached a level of consciousness as of yet where that alone isn't cool enough to just fucking roll with it. It's like I'm I'm being something I never was, and I have some agency in that. Okay, cool. All this other shit needs to change, but so long as that's the truth, I can feel it, I'm fine. So it's good, and I appreciate your company because you're listening and you're laughing and you're talking back. It's the new normal. It's home. It's the little that we need for everything to be okay. And it's us practicing giving it more and more every day. Maybe we can release any sense of inadequacies for our capacities to do or not do if we release perhaps a fundamental assumption that the greater ease or courage or expertise or anything that we imagine impossibility is in truth something that's never ever been before in all of the like universes of knowing, and that our capacity to be exactly what we're being on the edge of our desires, trying to create something that we think should be easier to create, is actually us creating something that is so gosh darn impossible that we're a marvel to behold in spirit and love as we accomplish every impossible step. We should be this, we should be that, is a part of the story because our divine like assembly is watching in disbelief and awe and glee and wonder at our hearts opening and our minds enveloping. Creating beauty from beauty, where no one knew beauty could even exist. I'll leave you with something that I do that's been given myself like a bit of a break my whole life. It's an assumption that I make. I always assume that the best, most awesomest, loving, kind, gifting, wonderful experience that I could hope for, long for, want to be is always on its fastest way to me. And that I've always been on the fastest most effective, efficient curve of that manifestation, that realization that's ever been possible. And so any stalls or delays or anything like that are only problems of perception. Because there was only ever one way this was going to go down. There was going to be the best love. Period. And then, like, the kind of side note that's, I guess I'm almost kind of saying to myself too, which is the real share, is even the things that we think we can do or should do or couldn't do or know we could do or blah, 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 like all those knots that aren't, that we think make a difference or would, are just thoughts. And that we've never done anything to delay ourselves. That always, our most love pulls us the best way through. And that's the only way, because it's the only choice we've ever made. The most love, please. Right through here. Done. Good. And then everything else is just like, I love you. Okay, that's it. That's well more than I thought I had. But I'll never, ever get used to or be blown away at having the likes and the loves of you and the all of yous. I hope you have a great day, night, and all of the things. Thanks for being such good company. Yeah, this is where we just keep being, and it might turn quiet, but it'll still be across from you. So it's weird to go from the way we've been talking to me to being like, okay, bye, end stream. Still here, and you're still here. And sounds weird. But hey, we are more powerful than we know what the fuck to do with. So, namaste. But for real, thanks for fighting the good fight. For smiling the good smile. For laughing the fucking best laugh. And making my day. Okay, bye. I love you. Take care. See you soon. Okay, bye. Bye. Even though we're still here. That's what's up. Peace.